Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Passion and the Purpose. It's been a little while, but I'm so thankful to be back. Today, I am talking with a dear friend of mine. Her name is Anya. She is so amazing. We have just become really great friends over the past few years, and she used to be a teacher, and she just loves children and families. And I really asked her today to come on and speak to us a little bit about what she does and to teach us a little bit about teaching children about managing money and what they should be learning about in the money sphere. Because right now we are in the middle of our real world learning challenge that I am putting on through my blog. And this month's theme is money, obviously. So we've been doing all kinds of activities surrounding the theme of money and stewardship. And I like to have people come on, talk to us that are in that realm to kind of teach us more about what we should be doing with our families and with our children. So Anya, could you tell us a little bit about what you do and maybe a little bit about your family too, and then we'll go from there.
So hi everyone. My name is Anya Bradford. I am a financial coach. And so my main job is to teach people about money. And I love educating people, helping them find little, tricks and tips that I guess, we didn't learn in school, but we probably should have, that make a huge difference, especially down the road. And so when Kara brought this idea to me, I have a soon to be 4-year old, just turned 2-year old, and then another one on the way. And so money is actually something we're talking about in our family right now. My 4-year old, well, soon to be 4-year old, he is obsessed with coins and bills and collecting them and things like that. So this is perfect. This is something that I'm dealing with in my personal life, and this is something that I talk about all the time in my professional life to people. So I have a few tips, just kind of a four-pronged approach that I think parents need to have when it comes to talking to our kids about money and making sure we're preparing our kids to be financially responsible adults, right? That's what we want for them.
The
So
goal.
yeah, exactly. The main thing to remember is that your children are going to model your behavior. So it's important when you're starting this journey of talking, about your kids with finances, that you have the right financial attitude, and that is something that you are going to be able to pass on to them. Because inevitably, they're not going to do what you say; they're going to do what you do. So thinking about checking your financial mirror and looking at your financial life and thinking, do I have the financial life I want my kids to have? Do I have the financial habits I want my kids to have? And if that's yes, that's great, they're going to pick that up. But if no, taking some introspection, figuring out how to get your ship righted so that those kids will have that clear path. So here are kind of the four, I guess, like I said, a four-pronged approach that you want to have when you're talking to kids about money. And this is regardless of any age. I'm going to talk about ages in a second, but you want to talk to them about spending, obviously, saving, investing, and giving. Because money is, especially with kids, is not just about translating it into toys at Walmart, right? We want to teach kids that yes, we do spend money, but we also save it, we also invest it, and we also give it. And making sure kids understand that money is a tool. In the list of priorities is pretty far down the list, right? We've got God, we've got family, we've got relationships and memories. So making sure kids understand that money is not the end all be all, right? Things are not the end all be all. Money is just a tool, and it comes from God. And so we want to use it the way he would want us to use it. We want to use it to his glory. So, okay. So when you're talking about spending, right? Let's kind of go through these. All right.
I think
Spending.
they're really good at spending.
it it's natural, right? It's just naturally something that comes to them. And so what you want to do is you want to help kids establish, between wants and needs, and start to learn how to prioritize. Do I really, really need this, or is it something that I want? And is it something I want right now? Or is it something that I need to, put off until later? Is it something, that needs to happen at this moment? So that prioritization skill starts to come into place. And also looking at value, because even with our older kids, when when we're talking about certain brand names and certain, maybe fashion items or clothing items, we want to look at value versus just the sticker price. Figuring out how important is this to you, what is it going to mean to you, and really being a smart shopper, right? So,
Honestly, that
taking
takes a little bit of time and patience to kind of go through, right? Like you might
definitely.
be able to say that, but for them to really truly like understand that, it's going to take a bit of time.
Well, and those are the conversations that we need to be having,
Definitely.
because it all comes down to the heart. And I think that's your whole thing with doing this real world learning is we really want to get to the heart. And so
Definitely.
helping them understand the value, even if it's walking through the vegetable section and talking about, the value of the cans of green beans. Now this one might look nicer or shinier, but is it, what's the value? Is it just as good as the off brand? Things like that. When it comes to saving, I think we almost need to play into our kids' innate desire to collect things, right? Because, I'm sure your kids, they like to collect. My kids like to collect rocks. I don't know if your girls collect rocks.
Currently, we're collecting snails. So,
That's perfect. But kids have this almost hoarder mentality, right? Where they
yeah.
they want to collect, they want to have as many as possible. And so we can almost play into that when it comes to saving. No, we don't want to spend it all. We want to make sure some of it is set aside for saving, building towards those goals that they may have. Why can't teenagers get everything that's on their wish list, right? If we teach them how to save toward that goal, it can be possible. So, kind of going hand in hand with that is investing, because I know a lot of adults are pretty scared of investing because we don't understand it. But we've got to teach children the differences in interest, right? Earning interest on your money and really building toward a big goal, right? Like, for instance, for my kids, they have mutual funds. We don't have savings accounts. We have mutual funds for them. And that's growing for college, a car, down payment on a house, whatever, they want to use it for. But we talk about, how it's growing, it's earning interest. And then the cool thing is we talk about the companies that they own in their mutual
Mm.
fund. And so my little guy, right, my soon to be 4-year old, when we're walking into Disney, a couple of times he's even said, yeah, I own Disney, don't I, Mom? And
That's
it
awesome.
yeah, it builds that pride, and it helps him understand the responsibility, of these companies to contribute to his wealth as well. And a cool fact, here's a random cool fact, okay? Because a lot of people think about, investing for their kids. If you save $25 a month in an investment, it's going to average about 9%. Do you know by the time that child is 18, they'll have $13,000?
That's awesome.
I mean, it's not going to pay for, their whole college education, but just $25 a month, right?
I mean, that's pretty doable, right?
Yeah. Or I also looked at this. If you put away $1,000 when a baby's born, right? Because we buy a whole lot of stuff when a baby's born. But what if instead of just buying all the cutesy little things that they're just going to throw up on, right? What if we invested $1,000 one time and then never touched it and just let it grow? If it's again in that mutual fund, that's going to earn about 9%. When that child reaches retirement age, which according to the IRS is 59 and a half, they'll have over $216,000.
Just by one time and then not doing anything.
Just a
Wow.
one-time $1,000 investment. So I think the power of teaching our kids investing, putting away for long-term goals, and using the power of interest and compound interest, that's so important. We can't let them forget that. And again, that's a behavior that we have to model for them, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're not saving, if we're not investing, if we're not looking to our future, they're not going to either, right? And
So what do
so,
you say, really quick, what do you say to the mom who says, well, my husband and I, or maybe just the mom, like, or just the dad, they kind of do their money on their own and it's all on the computer. So they don't really sit down and like do, balancing out a checkbook anymore or anything like that. How would you suggest that they involve their children in that process? Kind of just to show that they're modeling good financial well-being.
yeah, so sometimes it can be as easy as opening the mail together, right? You probably get a lot of credit card offers, and that gives you an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk about, hey, what is this? What is a credit card? Why are you tearing that up? Why are you throwing it away? You may get statements from different accounts, like your 401k account. You may get statements from your bank, statements from a bill, right? Your car loan or a hospital bill or something in the mail. Those are all opportunities to talk about it with your kids, because kids love opening mail. They love looking at things, even if they don't understand it. And so it's just an opportunity to have that conversation, which the first 20 million times you talk about it, it's probably not going to sink in. But just involving your kids in things like, what comes in the mail, right? What is
Easy.
a,
That's easy. That's awesome. I never even
yeah,
thought about that. Good
yeah,
idea.
yeah. A lot of us, we don't take them shopping with us anymore. We do the Walmart pickup, which is great. But if you ever are out shopping, you can talk about that. Or if you're even right now, like my husband and I were shopping for Halloween costumes, on online on different websites and talking about, this costume, look at it. It costs this much money, but this costume, it looks just as good, but it only costs this much. Just helping kids again understand value, be smart shoppers, things like that. Um, yeah, I think conversation and not being afraid to talk to your kids, even about your mistakes, your financial mistakes, being vulnerable with them. That's going to give them, the courage to move forward in some decisions because, hey, if mom and dad made a financial mistake and they're okay, it gives me grace. I don't have to get it right all the time. If I make a mistake, I can come back from it. They're not going to have that analysis paralysis per se.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
yeah,
Definitely. I mean,
yeah, I
and
really,
honestly, like it doesn't have to be difficult conversations, like you're saying, just simple and just having it like they understand so much more than what a lot of adults give them credit for, right? Like they
yes,
truly do soak it in. They are like a little sponge. So really, like I always say, take that to heart and just use that. Talk about everything.
yes, exactly. And we don't want to pass on financial anxiety to them, you know,
No.
because that's honestly, that's a lot of where our habits came from, is because our parents, either shamed us for wanting things or, you know, kept reinforcing, no, we're broke, you can't, don't ask for things. And so we grow up with this poverty mentality instead of, approaching it like a budget and saying, well, we do have this much, so we could do this. You know, um, checking yourself in the mirror and seeing how your reactions are, you know, putting those feelings on them. But we
Definitely.
do want to teach them to be generous. We do want to teach them to give. We want to teach them, regardless of what they have, number one, it belongs to God and He has a plan for it. But also, we need to be generous with other people. And whether we're talking about money, like I heard somebody say, when you give an allowance to a child, give it in small denominations. Don't just give them a $5 bill. Maybe give them four ones and some quarters, so that it's easier to kind of divide up. They're able to say, oh well, I could give one of my dollars to the church or to this fundraiser or to this charity, where it's that's physically easier for them. That's more concrete. um, Teaching them, even to be generous with their food. If they have several cookies and somebody wants one, teaching them, if you give one away, I promise I will give you another one. But I want you to be free to be generous. I want you to always be willing to give and trust that God's going to replenish that. um, I think that that's something that we miss a lot. We talk about spending and we talk about saving, a little bit, but we rarely talk about giving. So
And I think that's so important. And I'm trying to like, before like put that through my thought process, how I want to model that for my children and how I want to teach them. And I think that too, it's important to note that like during our lifetime, we're going to have like different seasons to where we might be able to give financially more in this season versus the next. And then maybe when we're not as financially able to give, maybe we can give more of our time or give more of the resources that we already have. Like, for instance, with kids, like if we're not giving money right now and we don't have the ability to give time, but maybe we should, give some toys that you're not using anymore to somebody who doesn't have any toys, right? So that doesn't really take a whole lot of time. That doesn't take a whole lot of money. It's already there and you're not using it. So let's allow it to help somebody else in that, that same time. So
That's perfect because that value is there.
right.
Money has value, but time has value. And like you're saying, things that we're donating. That's beautiful, Kara. I love that. That's really good.
And I try to involve them as much as possible, like taking them to volunteer and do things so they can actually physically see what the money and what the things are benefiting. Because if
Right.
you're just giving a toy and you don't know what's happening to it or where it's going, like what's the point of giving away my toys?
Right.
So you kind of need
Exactly.
to see like things full circle, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah. So regardless of, what age your kids are, there's always a starting point, a place where you can teach a concept, like if they're young, if they're, maybe 3 to 5, you want to keep it concrete. You want those hands-on experiences, like you're saying, you want to be talking about physical money and the value of it and things like that. But as kids get to be, maybe 6 to 10, that's when allowance comes in and you're able to talk to them a little bit about budgeting and how are we going to save for this and maybe opening them a bank account or a savings account or a mutual fund or something, right? um, and like when they get into middle school, you've got that 11 to 14 time period. That's where they're really feeling the peer pressure, to start looking a certain way or acting a certain way. How are they going to fit into society? And that's where you can hammer home value. And where, are you going to find your value in these physical things? Are you going to find your value in this money? Or is your value in your personality, in what you bring to the table and who you are? Um, Planning for expenses, things like that. That's where you get to hammer home those goals, those ideas. And then obviously, in high school, you've got your 15 to 18-year-old. They may even have a part-time job. And so it's super important to make sure that they have a balanced approach when it comes to their money. They are spending, obviously, but they are saving, they are investing, and they are giving, that they're able to cover all those bases early so that by the time they get out of your house, it's already a habit. It's already set. It's not something they're going to learn through the school of hard knocks. And like I said, sharing your mistake stories with them, being vulnerable and saying, yeah, I had a credit card when I was in college and I maxed it out at 10 grand and my interest rate was 32%. And I thought that was okay. And let me tell you the
Whew,
struggle it
I'm
was,
probably still paying on it.
yeah, well, that's a part of my story, coming out of college with 30,000 in credit card debt. And I didn't know that was bad. I had no financial knowledge, a lot because I wasn't taught, you know, and you can't teach your kids what you don't know. So coming back to the whole looking in the financial mirror and saying, do I want my kids to have my financial life? Do I want them to have my financial habits and attitudes? Because that's what I'm going to pass on to them, whether I know it or not. And so I got to make sure I got my ship in order, right? I got to make sure I've got everything aligned so that they can learn that and, you know, hopefully do better than me.
Definitely. I mean, that's the goal over here.
Yeah.
I've definitely
Yeah.
made some mistakes, but I want better for my children. So I'm going to make sure that, I'm intentional about teaching them about those things.
I like that word, intentional. That's really good. Yep. That's perfect.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing some of your wisdom with us. I really hope that people take that to heart and kind of reevaluate what they're doing in their home. And even though I know this month is that's kind of our theme, but I hope that they'll be able to take the discussions that we're having right now and be able to carry that on in the years to come, not just for 1 month.
Yeah. Well, and if people want a resource, I have a little brochure that I can email to anyone for free, and it's called How Money Works for Kids. And it covers some of, the things that I talked about, but it's a really neat guide. I think you've read through it.
Yeah, it is a
Um,
really good resource.
yeah, if anybody would like that, I can email it to them for free. It's just a good guide to see how you can have those conversations with your kids. It's got some tools, how to, instead of budgeting, they call it keeping a money journal, things like that. What's age appropriate at different times. And yeah, just trying to help raise financially responsible kids. So,
Perfect. So maybe we can have, if you want to send me your email or comment under the video, then we can get you some of those, that guide sent to you right away. And I think it'll be a good asset for your family, but also maybe your homeschool as well. So
exactly.
and if you're watching and you're like, well, what in the world is this whole like real world learning challenge thing? I want to know more. I will put a link down below in the bottom of the video and it'll give you some more information. You can find more at passioninthepurpose.com. It's on there. And it's just basically, we're going for 10 months. Each month there is a theme, a different theme. This month is money. Last month was baking. Our next month is going to be animals. So we're just focusing on a theme, then using real world experiences, real world tools to help teach our children. And it's been really great. And I'm looking forward to the coming months. And I really hope that you will join us. So thank you, Anya, again. And until next time, I hope you'll have a wonderful day.